Welcome back to Coffee with Yvonne, a show for creators and entrepreneurs. I'm Yvonne Pearson, your host and the founder of Pink Dollhouse Marketing. And this week's show, y'all, we're going to be doing our marketing magic episode. For those of you who are new here, I break down marketing campaigns that you see on social media or things that are being talked about on various channels, whether it's print, digital, anywhere you've seen it and it becomes popular. Guess what? Most likely, I'm going to talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it. And this week on the show, we're gonna talk about Kendrick Lamar and his groundbreaking performance at the Super Bowl. And we're also gonna cover the LipBar and their groundbreaking beauty series that they have launched for Black History Month. And then finally, we're gonna talk about Supreme Models, the documentary created by Vogue that was on YouTube that is now available on Netflix. So grab your coffee and let's chat. Okay, first up, Kendrick Lamar, aka K. Dot, aka Kung Fu Kenny, makes history at the Super Bowl. And for those of y'all who pulled up, did you pull up on time? Because I did. I was not missing that performance for nothing at all. And I'm glad I did pull up on time because there were so many things in that performance that went over a lot of people's heads. And that's part of what we're going to discuss today for our marketing magic. So I pulled this article from Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone did a really great, insightful piece about the symbolism for that performance. From Rolling Stone, Kendrick Lamar packed the whole halftime show with all-star cameos, political undertones, and choreographed moves that not everyone watching picked up on. In my personal opinion, people kind of miss the fact that Kendrick Lamar is not just a regular rapper. He is actually a Pulitzer Prize winning rapper who is respected across the board for the way that he thinks about his craft of rap and ties in poetic influences and things like that, as well as, history, mental health, all the things. If you want to see my brief deep dive of Kendrick Lamar's road to the Super Bowl, go ahead and check out my video on social media. And you can even find it on my YouTube channel in 2 parts because, length of the video, under shorts. When we talk about the symbolism, we're going to touch on just a few high-level things. The American flag, Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam, and then the last piece, that game controller that everyone is talking about right now. And if you see me looking down at my screen, for those of you who are not new here, but welcoming new people into the room, hi! I bring notes to the conversation to make sure the information I'm sharing with you is not only my opinion, but also opinions that are shared from other reliable sources like the news articles I pull in for our discussion. Okay, first up. So for symbolism of Black bodies as the American flag. This did go over a lot of people's heads, and it's okay because sometimes the message isn't for you, it's for the audience it's intended for. But the Black bodies forming the American flag can represent our ancestors and Black Americans being the thread of American history. If you notice in that one shot that keeps being shared on the social channels, the dancers were connected by touching each other on the back. Then, if you notice, there was space in between the actual dancers. This space could represent us being connected, but still holes in the telling of American history and our contributions. Also, there's a big discussion right now about erasure in terms of Black history. With things like critical race theory being used as a buzzword to show that, people shouldn't be learning about certain things concerning Black American history and things like that, and our journey across the diaspora. There's a lot of erasure and retelling that narrative. And Black Americans understanding the importance of knowing our history before someone else tells us what our history is part of why that erasure is so impactful for us, because we understand what our contributions are and just want to be recognized for it. Nothing big, nothing to make a big scene about, but we are just as American as everyone else who has been part of the American dream narrative. Then, looking at Uncle Sam, this was played by Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, Snakes on the Plane, Marvel, Samuel L. Jackson, Samuel L. Jackson, Uncle Sam. Anyway, Samuel Jackson started out Kendrick Lamar's performance in a star-spangled suit. Now, why is this so important? Uncle Sam, the original, I want you, Uncle Sam guy, is usually a symbolism of America in terms of strength and American culture. He's used a lot in so many different things to represent a visual aspect of the country outside the traditional one like the eagle. So, Uncle Sam, played by Samuel L. Jackson, he introduced the Great American Game. Now, for those who are unfamiliar, in African American culture, there's always this saying that you're playing a game. You're playing a game for survival. You're playing a game to figure out how to make the best move for you to get ahead as much as you can in this country. And this is me being fully transparent with you, audience. So I'm not trying to divide any of us. I'm just sharing based on my experience what this great American game can represent. And also, it represents a continuous struggle between being Black and being American. Because quiet as it's kept, it is something that we do struggle with. Do we go first with our identity and our culture, or do we identify fully as being American and lean into that? Now, that being said, unfortunately, for many of us, even though we are Black Americans, we have not been included in that narrative in terms of upward mobility or, broken promises that were given to us as a country, like 40 acres and a mule, not being considered full human, being considered 3/4 of a human during the days of slavery, being kept out of communities due to redlining, unable to vote for our communities, being threatened in terms of voting when we try to exercise our right, seeing our communities burned down, being pushed out of jobs, being pushed out of things because of the color of our skin and not the content of our character. Because that's a quote that people love to throw around all the time. But have we yet reached that yet? Not really. But getting back to what I was saying before, with Uncle Sam, he represented that. It's a constant, struggle with Black Americans trying to figure out where we fit in a country that never fully wanted us to be here in the first place, other than to serve as labor. And again, I'm not trying to be divisive, but this is me sharing based on my experience and what I picked up from the performance. Moving on to the game controller. If you notice at a bird's eye view, the actual stage was set up like a game controller. And I read a brief thread on social media before hopping on this podcast that the game controller, while it looked like a PlayStation controller, it actually represented different areas on the stage. I think one represented even a prison yard on the stage as well. And that, to me, the key takeaway I took is playing the game but never actually winning. Going back to that whole thing with the struggle being Black and being American. And thinking about the key takeaways from marketing for the performance, I enjoy how Kendrick Lamar uses his art of storytelling as a tool. Also, he understood and understands camera placement, the use of color, and isolation. There was even a thread on social media that talked about, at a bird's eye view, that the dancers spelled out in Braille Compton. Who thinks of that? The way he tells his story, make sure that people can see themselves if they choose to. That's important. If they choose to, in the message that he is sharing. And then finally, because this is causing so much discourse on social media, I think a lot of times that is the goal of art, to be thoughtful and strategic in creativity. It's meant to disrupt conversations if it's done right. It's meant to make people question what they know or what they think they know. And while, again, some people may not get it, it may not be meant for you to actually get, but at least respect the art. Okay. Moving on to the LipBar, one of my favorite Black girl-owned brands, by the way. Also, if you haven't had a chance to try Good Karma. That's a good color. I got my color last week. Sure did. I put it on expeditiously. I did the LipBar Good Karma, and then for my liner, I used Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place is one of my absolute favorites, not to get off topic, but Coffee Bean and Scorpio, I believe, are my two favorite lip liners from Juvia's Place. And then from the LipBar, I love Good Karma, and I also love Rich Auntie. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We are here to talk about the LipBar's launching of a new digital docu-series that celebrates Black beauty. And I pulled this directly from the LipBar's website. The LipBar is quoted on their website of saying, this Black History Month, we're not just celebrating Black beauty, we're reclaiming our narrative. We're honoring the innovators who shaped beauty trends for generations. We're celebrating every shade, every texture, and every expression of Black beauty because our beauty isn't a trend, it's timeless. And if you're unfamiliar with the LipBar, let's take a step back. The LipBar, one of the founders, Melissa Butler, tends to be the face of the brand. You see her a lot of times on the social media. You see her with the opening of their store in Detroit or when they're launching a new product or, just talking to the girlies about all the things because she's good at that. But what I love about Melissa is whenever she delivers a message, it comes across as authentic, rooted in thought, purpose, and goals of uplifting the Black community and women in the beauty space. So this digital series, which I believe it is 3 different episodes that you can find on their landing page under Black History Month, and you can also find it on their YouTube channel. But the series, again, addresses myths related to Black women in beauty. Things like red lipstick. For a lot of us, especially those of us who are darker skin tones, sometimes it was a struggle because you were told that you couldn't wear certain colors because of your skin tone, right? And first of all, throw that out the door. Throw it fully out the window. Tell her to pack her bags and leave. Because you can wear, my good sis, any color you look good in. Okay, don't let them tell you different. And a lot of times when it comes to things like red lipstick, a lot of times those reds were not made for our tones. Let's be real. Sometimes it had a bit more of an orange base to it that did not complement our skin tones. But when you have brands like the LipBar that thoughtfully create their formulas to make them inclusive so any Black girl can shine or any woman of color or person can shine, that is more important because it's being inclusive in the way that they're creating a product that is meant for you to shine. I didn't mean to go on my little soapbox, but I just had to get that out. Anyway, so it addresses our relationship with red lipstick, beauty treatments like, Botox and fillers, because tell the truth, shame the devil. There's nothing wrong with getting a little filler, for that little frown line. If you feel that you want a little something, get a little something. Just go to a good doctor that can help you out, do all the things. And then finally, how Black culture has innovated beauty trends in the beauty space. While I have not had a chance to watch the series, it is on my list of things to watch. But what I skimmed over is really great how they're telling the story and changing the narrative using real world examples and pulling from history about our innovation in the culture and beauty space. So some of my marketing takeaways. One of the things I love about the LipBar is they're launching their own content around a popular topic. So own content, for those who don't know, is content that you have created that has not been created by another platform or that you're not resharing. You are the original creator and you are able to say that this is something that came from my brain that I have put out in various spaces. Also, they're launching this around a popular topic, which is beauty. Beauty is a multi-billion-dollar industry that continues to trend across channels as innovations and new players in the space have emerged. And then more importantly, the time frame. Let's think about that. It is Black History Month. Black History Month across any industry is a popular month for companies to launch initiatives around inclusivity and belonging. Then one of the things I mentioned before about Melissa Butler, they're leveraging their founder as the face of the content to help bring power behind the message. And then finally, by using the content to dispel stereotypes and create empowerment through their products, they're also bringing potentially new customers to their storefront, whether it's physical store in Detroit or their digital storefront through their website online. Don't forget, again, the content is available on the LipBar's website under Black History Month and their YouTube page. Okay, last but not least, and I brought an example for this one. Last but not least, Supreme Models. The documentary lands on Netflix. I got this book as a gift for Christmas a few years ago from one of my coworkers turned friends turned family. They gifted me this book because I actually collect coffee table books, specifically books that are about art and fashion and, inclusivity and belonging. So Supreme Models, this book is about iconic Black women who revolutionized fashion. It's a beautiful book, by the way. And it's by Marcellus Reynolds with a foreword by Veronica Webb. And what I love is this book, and I can show you guys a little sneak peek, but this book highlights Black models in various spaces from over the years. And it's beautifully done, beautifully displayed with these gorgeous photographs. And for those who don't have the book, the docu-series on YouTube is now, like I mentioned, on Netflix. So I pulled this article from Vogue.com, and it was written a few years ago during the time of the pandemic. So the 6-part series is an adaptation of Reynolds' best-selling book, Supermodels, Iconic Black Women Who Revolutionized Fashion, which includes and celebrates these figures through essays, interviews, and photos. The series is rich with personal conversations and testimonials from enduring trailblazers like Yvonne, Bethan Hardison, Pat Cleveland, Joan Smalls, and more. And when they say and more, it's more. All the girl is pulled up for this one, okay? Fashion industry icons and talent also make appearances, including Anna Wintour, Edward Enifo, Zendaya, Oliver Roasting, and Zach Posen. The key takeaways from a marketing perspective, there were so many gems. I watched the docuseries in almost one sitting because it's a 6-part, roughly 30-ish minutes per episode. But I love how the docuseries showed how the Black model has always impacted and advocated for others in the space. Also, it talked about, too, the lack of inclusion with things like makeup and hair that inspired models like Iman and Tyra Banks to expand their brand or develop their own line. And then finally, how social media revolutionized the space and helped to reduce the number of gatekeepers that are blocking diversity and inclusion efforts due to their own bias. And to take it even deeper than that, it was just so refreshing to see the honesty behind women who are in that space. Because as someone who used to work in fashion many moons ago, did I ever tell y'all that? I didn't. I used to work in fashion many moons ago, but it was early on in my career. So when I graduated from college in 2009, I had a hard time finding a job, and I really wanted to work in fashion marketing. Or the second career I wanted to explore was to be a buyer. Side story, I almost did become a buyer. I got into TJ Maxx's buying program, but I would have had to move, I think, to like Burlington, Massachusetts or something like that. And where was that money coming from? Because I didn't have it. Anyway, when I was working full time at Bloomingdale's, on my days off, I would travel back and forth between the DC area and New York. And when I did that, I would work different shows. Like I've worked shows behind the scenes for like Tibby. I would also help with like dressing behind the scenes for runway shows, or serving as like a, fashion assistant, like checking lists and that kind of stuff. Go for work, essentially. What you see on The Devil Wears Prada is true. It's true. And I was hungry all the time too, y'all, because tell the truth, shame the devil, I was broke. And I did not tell my mama how broke I was, but let's just say this. Me and the mega bus went together real bad, okay? I was standing outside on them random corners, and this was before an app, for real, y'all. This is before you have the app where it was like, the nice little signs and everything. No, mega bus pulled up to a random parking lot in DC, and you were either there to get on that bus or you missed your bus, and that was it. Thinking about it from an industry perspective, a lot of times in the fashion space, if you were not someone who came from an area of connections in which you were able to like work for free, or were able to like land a really great job making pretty much peanuts on the dollar, but still able to survive, it was very hard to get in to those areas. So I found myself very frustrated a lot of times. I was told different things, like, me needing to lose more weight. And at that time, I was a size roughly 10, 12 in my 20s. And I still felt like I was too fat for the industry. I was told to lose weight so I could be, able to wear the clothes, because they didn't make anything sometimes over a size 10 back then. And I found myself squeezing into clothes, trying to, wear them, wearing double Spanx at times, trying to get into the clothing and stuff like that. So it can become very demeaning for your personality, and it can also become very discouraging because you're always like overlooked for what was considered more traditional. I wasn't considered what was traditionally pretty for that industry. So a lot of times, I was too dark. I was too dark. I was too fat. I was all the things that did not fit into this narrative of what the fashion space wanted me to be. So it makes it even harder from that perspective to be an outsider trying to get in. And even when I started my own blog, it started out as Step Into My Stilettos, and I changed the name to Pink Dollhouse, hence. But even when I started my own blog and I started covering more shows, I still even had to, almost beg for like brand collaborations and stuff like that to, even get on PR lists and things like that, because I was not considered what they thought their target audience should be. And also, finally, when it came to the fashion industry, DC was not very much respected in that space, to tell the truth. The focus was a lot of time on New York, and I believe LA, and also I think Miami. DC, no one was checking for us as much. A lot of shows didn't want to come down here. They didn't take us seriously in the blogging and the fashion space community. So for a lot of us, going to New York was the only answer for us to really advance. So when I was watching Supreme Models, I had a flashback to a lot of those times where they were talking about, the early 2000s of like 2008 and like to the early teens of that era, because that was the era that I was in, knowing that, they were looking for people like me to work the shows. They were looking for people that was more homogenous or had a certain skinnier body type. And when you come with natural curves and, a darker skin tone, and you don't come from a family that has deep connections in that space, the door is pretty much shut in a lot of areas, where it kind of forces you to either keep putting up with it or you have to shift directions for survival. Watch this docu-series, especially if you want to get an idea of how these women really changed the game, not just for Black models, but for building inclusivity across the board. When we look at people like Rihanna, who included models who have, a different like skin tone texture, I think it's called vitiligo, and then also may have things like, like amputees wearing like their robotic like legs or parts and things like that. That was not something that was common. That's why shows like that are so groundbreaking. That's why having deep skin tones for makeup is so groundbreaking still to this day, because that did not exist. I hope you enjoyed today's chat, and I know I went into a little rant, my bad, but I really wanted to share with you my thoughts on different things, and I really appreciate you for watching. Don't forget to follow Coffee with Yvonne on Instagram and Threads, okay? Go ahead, pull up. You can find me at Coffee with Yvonne. Oh, don't forget also, sign up for my newsletter. It only takes like maybe 4 minutes to read. And I give you exclusive audio content. You get Coffee with Yvonne teasers. You also get my marketing magic breakdowns for things that are not covered in the podcast episodes we talk about. You get bonus content, boo. Go ahead, sign up. I'm right there on Substack. You can also find it in the show notes. Oh, and for my personal account, you can find me on Instagram. Also, TikTok, aka the Clock app, and fan base at Yvonne_creative marketer. To learn more about me and my business, Pink Dollhouse Marketing, my trademark business. Hello! Go ahead and check out my website, pinkdollhousemarketing.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Pink Dollhouse Marketing. You can slide into my DMs. That's cool. And I cannot wait to chat with you soon. Okay, bye! Coffee with Yvonne is produced and edited by Yvonne Pearson. Coffee with Yvonne is created by Pink Dollhouse Marketing. You can catch the latest episodes by subscribing to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.